So this story right here is absolutely wild, but it's also one of those things where it's not going to generate 1/10 of the outrage that it deserves. Michigan Congressman, Republican Tim Walberg was at some sort of town hall constituent event here. And he was talking about Gaza, and he said this.
Are we spending our money to build a port for them?
Yeah, it's Joe Biden's reason. We need to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. I don't think we should. I don't think any of our aid that goes to Israel to support our greatest ally, arguably maybe in the world, to defeat Hamas and Iran and Russia, and probably North Korea's in there and China too, with them and helping Hamas.
What? Russia helping Hamas? Russia has good relations with Israel. What? Like this guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. But we haven't even gotten to the big whopper yet.
We shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid.
Oh.
It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over quick.
We shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid. It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over with quick. So nuke them. Nuke 2.3 million people in Gaza. Vaporize them. Eliminate them. And this is the kind of guy who would have the nerve to say, we're the good guys. We're America. We're the world police. We care about freedom and liberty and justice and the international world order. Anyway, let's do a genocide and wipe 2.3 million people off the face of the planet in a split second. Look, I got to admit something, guys. I'm pretty naive because I thought wrongly that, look, yeah, we all have our political disagreements and we fight it out, but honestly, if push came to shove, when you really get down to the bottom of it, there's some things where we all draw red lines. There's some things where even a person who I would disagree with on everything else would come out and say, you know what, on that one, of course we agree, right? Don't nuke millions of innocent civilians, for example. I would have put on that list. But no, turns out I was dead wrong. You scratch a little beneath the surface, and it's just like, and you don't, not even that deep. You don't have to scratch that deep. Scratch a little bit, and boom, Nazi shit. Like, it's just Nazi shit right in your face. It's just U.S. politicians and business leaders and neighbors who are like, I enjoy massacring civilians. I enjoy nuking innocent people. There's 2.3 million people in Gaza. 30,000 of them are Hamas. But let's just drop some nuclear bombs and get this over with real quick. These are the kinds of people, by the way, who act like there are no consequences for their own actions, right? Because let's game out a scenario where this guy got his wish and Gaza got nuked. You don't think that would lead to just an absolutely apocalyptic scenario, not just for Palestinians and in Gaza, but also for Israel? You don't think that finally at a point like that, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iran step in and do it to say, hey, we're being defensive here. You guys are psychotic. You just killed 2.3 million people. You don't think that there are revenge attacks and retaliatory attacks against the United States for arming and funding Israel as they literally committed genocide? You don't think that unites all of the different factions of Muslims, including the extremists like in ISIS and Al-Qaeda? You don't think that leads to, there will be attacks against U.S. civilians, another kind of 9/11, for example. Same thing would happen on October 7th. And then what would your reaction be to that? It would be to continue to perpetuate the cycle of violence and probably nuke another group of people, right? All the while blissfully unaware and don't even care that, like, you're begging for this sort of a backlash. You're begging for what the CIA calls blowback, unintended consequences of an interventionist foreign policy. So guys like this aren't just immoral and unethical. Guys like this are also just fucking stupid. Like, you're just a dumbass for thinking, everything exists in a vacuum. Nothing is ever going to come back at us. But, I mean, how do you make sense of this, right? How do you make sense of the year being 2024 and people still thinking it's okay to casually nuke civilians? So, in other words, all of the detailed and intricate and complex laws of war that we came up with, all of them, the Geneva Conventions, the Nuremberg tribunals, like the whole international framework to create a better world after multiple attempts where humanity tried to wipe each other off the planet. He looks at that and he goes, no, let's go back to the bad old days. By the way, so this comes out. Now, look, to be fair, it's not nearly as big of a story as any time Rashida Tlaib issued a statement that was mildly critical of Israel and on the side of Palestinians in Gaza, or Ilhan Omar says something. Whenever they say anything, Rashida got censured by the House and it was nonstop news. But this comes out and it's not even a tenth of the coverage that they got. By the way, is the House going to censure this guy? Is the House going to censure this guy? He just called for nuking 2.3 million Palestinians. I won't hold my breath for it. But he comes out and he realizes, because I think some Democratic Congress people did take note of this and did sort of go after him, right? So he comes out and he says the following. You're going to love this. My full statement on reporting of my comments on Gaza and Russia. As a child who grew up in the Cold War era, the last thing I'd advocate for would be the use of nuclear weapons. That's literally what you did. In a shortened clip, I used a metaphor to convey the need for both Israel and Ukraine to win their wars. I love the moral confusion. He's pro-Israel and Ukraine. To win their wars as swiftly as possible without putting American troops in harm's way. My reasoning was the exact opposite of what is being reported. The quicker these wars end, the fewer innocent lives will be caught in the crossfire. You said Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Now you're turning around and you're saying, bro, I'm saying the opposite, that, we need to have fewer innocent lives caught in the crossfire. Well, if you nuke 2.3 million people, that's 2.3 million people who are wiped off the planet. That is a colossally high civilian death rate. I hate this guy. The sooner Hamas and Russia surrender, the easier it will be to move forward. Look at the child's world this guy lives in. Just a fucking toddler brain. The sooner Hamas and Russia surrender, the easier it will be to move forward. The use of this metaphor, along with the removal of context, distorted my message, but I fully stand by these beliefs and stand by our allies. You know what? At least you would have been direct and blunt and honest if he came out and said, yeah, I said it. Right? He'd be a barbarian. He'd be a savage. He'd be the bad guy that he pretends to stand against. But at least it'd be like, well, he ain't, he's sticking with his story. Instead, you changed the context of what I said. I actually said I don't want civilians to die, even though I said nuke 2.3 million of them. What are you doing? The context, you've taken it out of context. This is what's happening in the modern era. And Trump really taught everybody this lesson. Whenever there's a scandal, who cares? Swat it aside, be a bull in a china shop, plow ahead. And now everybody thinks they're like Trump and they can sort of get away with shit. And so now when he gets caught red-handed saying the dumbest, most immoral, genocidal shit you've ever heard, now I actually didn't say the thing that I very plainly said when I was on video. Okay, let's play it one more time. You tell me what could even theoretically possibly be the missing context for this. One more time.
Our money to build a port for them.
Yeah, it's Joe Biden's reason. We need to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. I don't think we should. I don't think any of our aid that goes to Israel to support our greatest ally, arguably maybe in the world, to defeat Hamas and Iran and Russia, and probably North Korea's in there and China too, with them and helping Hamas. We shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid.
By the way, he's doing like the new version of the Axis of Evil thing. All the countries that I don't like that are on the U.S. official enemy baddie list, they're all in cahoots This is the new version of the George W. Bush era axis of evil, and like trying to give a justification and a pretext to go to war with all of these countries. And he says, not a dime of humanitarian aid.
It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over quick.
It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over with quick. There's literally no other interpretation than the straightforward one of nuke 'em, get it over with quick. Nuke 'em. Nuke 'em to protect civilians. That's what now he's claiming he meant. I'm going to protect those civilians if it means killing every last one of them. What a fucking weasel and a scoundrel and an atrocious human being. By the way, I need to stop being so conservative with my use of the word Nazi. Because again, this is Nazi shit. The only way you can get yourself to believe something like this is if you genuinely have swallowed hook, line, and sinker the propaganda of the clash of civilizations, right? The U.S. and our allies are the brave, courageous, moral, good ones by definition, and all of our enemies are evil. They're evil. And therefore, anything we do is justified. Anything they do is unjustified, right? That's the mindset. The mindset is there are good guys and there are bad guys. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys. So even when the good guys have to use strategically harsh tactics to go after the bad guys, we still get to excuse it. So if we nuke 2.3 million civilians, we're still the good guys because we've defined ourselves as such. This is the Netanyahu. There are forces of light and forces of darkness. This is the clash of civilizations type narrative. This is the Amalek. Remember when we brought up Amalek from the Bible? Slaughter their women and children and oxes and sucklings or whatever fucking weird words they use. This is what he's doing. This is what he's doing. This motherfucker is a Nazi. He might not have the down-the-line exact same beliefs, but the core of his ideology is Nazi shit. Nuke 2.3 million people. And then cry about it afterwards because he was literally directly quoted. By the way, the only context that would make his commentary here okay is if right before the clip or right after the clip, he goes, ha ha ha, I'm just kidding, that's psycho. I mean the exact opposite of what I just said. Now that wasn't the case. It wasn't no fucking metaphor. It wasn't a metaphor. It's very direct. And now you're trying to cover your ass. Censure this motherfucker. And just, you guys need to reflect on the fact, how many people who are elected officials right now also believe this, but just don't have the nerve to say it out loud? How many of them believe it? I shudder at the thought of that. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.